All right. So far of the regular episodes, we have, not including the recording that just started, 183 hours, 4 minutes, and 44 seconds of the Battle Science podcast. That is approximately 7.627, repeating sevens, days worth of regular Battle Science podcasts if played back to back to back. So a bit over a week and a day. That's, let's see, 0.62. You're looking at maybe 7 days, 12, 13-ish hours.
For almost 4 years of content.
3 years, 8 months, and 29 days since the first podcast got put up. 1,368 days since the first Battle Science podcast was posted.
We've been doing this too long.
Not long enough, actually. One of the other shows I listen to is in 2 months is going to hit 10 years, which is wild. And by the way, 10 years was 2013, not 2003.
Right?
Just to make you feel old.
Where was I in 2013? I was working Costco.
I graduated high school.
Oof.
Am I making you feel old yet?
Buddy, there's a lot of things recently that made me feel old. Getting out of bed is one of them.
My coworker was like, stop getting old, or don't. He said something to the effect of, don't get old. And I said, I'm not planning on it. Which is morbid, but, you know. Let's start the show. Welcome to the 100th episode of the Battle Science Podcast. I am your host, Steven, a.k.a. A Boy in the Woods, joined as always by Jesse, a.k.a. Rocket Diamond J.
I should have bought those little, party favor things.
I'm glad you didn't. Today is April 4th, 2023. For a regularly scheduled, non-awkward, calendar-wise episode of the Battle Science Podcast. But we have a special guest today. We have, you might know him as the Trendsetter. We can start calling him that on Twitter now. I'm coining it now. No one else take it.
Hashtag Trendsetter.
Hashtag Trendsetter. Or hashtag Play Pokemon Trendsetter. It started with Noctowl. It continues with Dubwool. We have Western Washington's own Jamar, X3DX Jamar, Joe, here on the Battle Science Podcast with us.
Some of you may know him as one of Wing Attack from Self Factions.
Trendsetter. I don't know about that.
Are you the captain?
I am the captain and owner of Wing Attack, yes.
So if you have complaints with Wing Attack, send them to Jamar.
He is the captain now.
All complaints, file all legal proceedings.
Of LLC.
Wing Attack LLC, a limited is the key word, limited liability corporation.
If people want to look you up or find you, how would they do that?
You can find me on Twitter at X3DXJMar159.
We have a show to get into, but before I get too far down the rabbit hole and too far off the cliff of caffeine consumption, not sponsored by Mountain Dew, but thanks to Mountain Dew for caffeinating me profusely today.
Gamer fuel.
Not, the blue raspberry stuff. So, the good
Is
stuff.
it like the syrupy bottom of like a slushy?
Well, yes. Mountain Dew Voltage, Dew charged with raspberry citrus flavor and ginseng and other natural flavors. The original gamer energy drink before energy drinks and
But
G
speaking
Fuel.
of gamers and awesome people,
you madman giving me a what's it called?
segue.
Like that. Thank you for the people that go over to patreon.com/battlescience and back us at the $1 tier or more. You, listener, Charles, talking to you, Charles, this time. Listen up. You can go over to patreon.com/battlescience and back us at the $1 tier or more and get the Battle Science podcast early or access to the Battle Science After Dark podcast, a Patreon-exclusive podcast that we do once a month, where we talk about whatever strikes our fancy with whatever language we feel like, while also not being like overtly offensive or anything. We swear, but we're not like.
It's tasteful.
It's tasteful swearing. Sometimes untasteful, Sometimes you gotta like dip into the. You can't have like a super solid meal. Sometimes you gotta dip into the candy and just get kind of weird with it. I don't know. I'm getting a weird look by Jesse. I'm sorry. It's not making sense. I'm sorry. But you can go over to patreon.com/battlescience and back us at the $5 tier or more and become a Triple P Patreon podcast producer, like the wonderful Evo Stevo, Winston the Champ, Dan P, a.k.a. Sorov, or Jamar. Thank you for... Actually, by the way, Jamar, thank you for backing us at the Patreon podcast producer tier on Patreon.
I love being a PPP.
Triple P. I swear I will make that GameCube N64... Is it
The
PlayStation?
N64 logo.
Was it the N64 logo but 3 Ps?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll happen at some point. It's
Once
on my
we hire a
list.
graphic designer.
Well, once we hire me away from my own job a little bit more.
Be like me and take your birthday off for vacation.
You could Jesse, what you should do is you should kidnap me and then throw me in a computer lab and lock the door behind me.
Well, first off,
and force me
I
to
can't
work on that
kidnap
stuff.
someone that wants to be kidnapped. Second off, I don't have a computer lab.
I mean, I have one.
So just bring you home and throw you in home.
And then tell me you're not getting anything until you don't get to play video games until you work on your homework.
I think that would be the most successful method of making you do stuff ever.
It might. Yeah, probably.
But yes, thank you to our awesome Triple Ps and everyone else on Patreon that helps support what we do.
Did I mention it's the 100th episode? It's the 100th episode.
Whoa!
It's the 100th episode of the Battle Science podcast. We have done this a while. Pokemon Go, PvP content. We have stuff to talk about. Am I missing anything? I feel like I'm missing something. April, podcast producers. We're doing the show. You're here. Jamar's here. I think it's it.
For intros?
Yes. No. Wait. I'm not quite there. Where's my button?
Giddy up now. This is the news roundup.
He's doing a thing.
It's the news roundup. All right. So, first bit of news. We're going to breeze through the first couple things until we get into the... We're going to get through the appetizers real quick, and then we're going to get onto the main course. Because I'm sure if you're listening to this on release or shortly after, you're probably wondering, everyone else has talked about it. Why isn't Battle Science talking about it? We'll get there. But let's get through the appetizers first. First, spring into spring, with Pokemon adorned with cherry blossoms and more. Trainers, cherry blossoms, flower crowns, and an assortment of eggs, ? It can only mean one thing. It's time to the time is ripe to spring into spring. With Pokemon decked out in their festive floral best, Rabombi's Pokemon Go debut and more put a spring in your step with Pokemon Go. This is directly from the PokemonGoLive.com blog post. The Spring into Spring event starting today, as of we're recording, April 4th at 10 a.m. to Monday, April 10th. So a little under a week, I believe.
6 days.
Pokemon debuts. We have Cutiefly and its evolution Rabombi. Just Fairy
Bug.
Fairy Bug? Okay. They're bad. I don't.
It's a very unique typing, but unfortunately, like we mentioned before the show, their moves are very charge move intensive and don't really have any good bait.
High energy requirement. No Fairy Wind.
Yeah.
Bummer. I'm sure people will use them in GBL and
It'll have its time. I think.
What are all of the catchphrases? Bang. Get beamed. There's probably other stuff. Just, they're nuke moves and not everyone's going to expect them, so.
Man, I love Tapu Fini.
Well. Yes, but Tapu Fini's actually usable, so. And Rabombi is not.
Rabombi gets hit by like 3 smackdowns and goes, eh.
Oof. It sounds like Japanese Surskit.
Yeah.
All right. New costumed Pokemon will appear during this event. Pikachu adorned with cherry blossoms. Pikachu adorned with cherry blossoms. Raichu adorned with cherry blossoms. Is that new?
Which one?
Has that been available? Has Pikachu with cherry blossoms been able to evolve into Raichu with cherry blossoms?
So, as of last year, the Floral Crown Pikachu was able to evolve into Raichu.
Okay.
These are different than the Floral Crowns of the past years. These are Cherry Blossom Crowns.
Neat. So if you want to collect all of the botany focused Pokemon, yeah, they're not even
essentially
hats.
You can now have a full set of the Flower Crown Eevee and its evolutions.
Mm-hmm.
And now a new Flower Crown set. We slightly changed the color and the positioning.
Oh, and by the way, they won't have the Community Day moves, so they're kind of useless if you want to use them for PvP, and that's gross.
I mean, but it's like the same story every year if you didn't get one. I mean, obviously they're making it so that past years have some of the value instead of just, oh boy, look, it's the same Flower Crown as the last 2 years. Yeah. No, Niantic. We changed it this year. Now it's a cherry blossom.
What's next year going to be, like roses or something?
It's possible.
Tulips.
That tulips would be pretty awesome. Do you notice the tulips that are off the end of my road? It's a big old mound of dirt, trees that are like sproutlings, and then there's just a trio of tulips there. And I was like, nice. Somebody planted those there. Eevee adorned.
Aren't tulips invasive?
No.
Oh.
No, because I think they're just bulbs. You have to plant the bulbs, and I don't think they spread very easily.
Okay.
So.
As long as no one puts in any invasive species over there.
Don't worry. They'll get there. They'll make it.
But yes, all of the Eevee and its evolutions with the new cherry blossom crown will keep you busy if you're a collector, especially if you're looking for the shiny variants. Like you also mentioned, no exclusive moves from evolving the Pikachu line or the Eevee line during this event.
Mm-hmm. They are referencing that cherry blossom of the evolutions. They're not saying specifically that they won't spawn in the wild, so they might actually all be spawning in the wild.
Yeah, I did see an Espeon today, but that was before the event started. And the season has seen some pretty decent shake-up in spawns.
Yeah. They're saying it from the sort of like odd asterisk that they're doing here is you can obtain a shiny one of these Pokemon by evolving a shiny Pikachu or shiny Eevee adorned with cherry blossoms. But they're not saying they can't be spawning in the wild, which means this is maybe the first time that Sylveon will be spawning in the wild?
I don't know if they'll do Sylveon.
It's part of...
I don't think I've ever seen a wild Sylveon.
Well, because it requires the friendship bonus.
Right.
And that doesn't surprise me. But it's lumped in with everything else.
Because I had seen a wild Leafeon before.
I've Seen Wild Umbreon before. I don't know if I've seen an Espeon before. I might have.
These are just referencing that they're Pokemon debuts, not that they're in the wild. In the wild is a little lower on the.
Oh,
It helps
okay.
if I scroll down on the website.
Those event bonuses,
Debuts
though.
with the flowers.
Event bonuses are 2 times hatch candy. Lucky eggs activated during the event period will last for 1 hour, and half hatch egg distance when eggs are placed in an incubator during the event period. So 6 days, half distance.
Is that almost worth going somewhere new and popping a lucky egg and just wandering around for stops?
Lasting for 1 hour. You're not getting bonus XP for it.
Which you are, because the lucky egg.
Right, but in other adventure...
I mean, it's been a couple years since we've seen a bonus for new stops.
It's been a little over...
2 years.
No, because the last year was... No, even this year. It's not been a full year since we had when we went to the museum, Burke Museum.
Was it new stop bonus then?
I believe so.
That would have been August or September.
That sounds about right.
Okay.
You could search through your
photos.
Did you take any photos?
Yeah.
Wild encounters. Pikachu adorned with cherry blossoms. Jigglypuff. Eevee adorned with cherry blossoms. Meryl. Whismur, not with cherry blossoms. Baneri wearing a flower crown. Bunnelby, and Cutiefly. All of those can be shiny besides Cutiefly. Some trainers might even encounter the following. Chansey wearing a flower crown and Togetic wearing a flower crown. Jesse, as you mentioned before the show, the primary thing to look out for here are Togetic wearing a flower crown, especially for candy leading up to Togetic Community Day, as well as you might be able to find a couple of usable IVs during this less than a week time.
Plus, if you just want one that has a flower crown for
Community Day.
Yeah. Because that can also have the shiny variant available too.
Yes, shiny variant is available, and it should be able to evolve no problem. And then Meryl for Azumarill. Azumarill never left the meta. It's always been there. Always
also
will
go
be.
for the Diggersby if you don't have a good one.
That's true.
Bunnelby for the Diggersby.
As we talked in the last episode, if you didn't listen to that, we talked about Diggersby is one of the biggest winners if Dig gets a buff. Because it's already really relevant.
And then Eevee for your Umbreons if you don't have a Hundo yet.
Mm-hmm.
Or just a better Great League one.
Mm-hmm. Raids, 1 star. Pikachu adorned with cherry blossoms. Jigglypuff, Eevee adorned with cherry blossoms, and Cutiefly. 3-star raids, Executor, Alolan Executor, Chansey wearing a flower crown, Togetic wearing a flower crown. And in 5-star raids, Lugia. Mega raids, Mega Lopunny. And here's the good stuff. They're being different with it in a good way. Eggs. The following Pokemon can hatch from 2-kilometer eggs obtained during this event. And when hatched during this event, by the way, or when incubated during this event, they are 1-kilometer hatch distance. So you have Eevee adorned with cherry blossoms, Pikachu adorned with cherry blossoms, Togepi wearing a flower crown, Azurill, Happiny wearing a flower crown, Munchlax, Riolu, and Cutiefly.
Real quick on that, I can't see it from here because I'm kind of squinting.
Mm-hmm.
Is Pikachu and Eevee specifically cherry blossom and the rest are flower crown?
Not everything has a flower crown, but Pikachu and Eevee have cherry blossoms. Togepi has the flower crown, and Happiny has the flower crown.
So those ones are the same as last year, but Pikachu and Eevee have the new ones as well as Bunnery, I think.
No, Baneri
it
is
still
also
has
just
a regular flower crown.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So your mascot Pokemon have the new crowns.
Okay.
Previous stuff has the old crowns. So if you're looking for the shiny Riolu, like me, I think this is the third
or fourth
year it's come through. And of course, it's Easter weekend, so I'm going to be out at the convention, walking a lot, trying to get a shiny Riolu.
They also, I think this is the first time we've had shiny Munchlax.
Yes, it is a baby Pokemon. Shiny Munchlax was released within the last year, I think within the last couple of months even.
Months, yeah, like in the fall. Yeah.
So it has the eligibility to be shiny. I want to say it's just a lighter blue.
Yeah.
So
Other question I have
Mhm.
is the announcement, does it say specifically only 2K eggs will be showing up, or is it still a chance to get a 2K?
it doesn't specify that it's exclusively 2K.
Correct. I picked up a 5K egg on my walk this afternoon.
That's what I wanted to know. Okay.
Yep.
So you have a chance on a chance of getting it at Rylu.
Well, a chance of getting the 2K, a chance of the 2K being a Rylu,
Yeah.
and then a chance of that Rylu being shiny.
Yep. Gross.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
For what it's worth, most of the eggs I picked up today were 2K.
Yeah, I imagine the rates are higher.
But you know that they're all going to be Eevee and Pichu.
Yeah. I just don't want to keep picking up 5s and getting starters.
They have. That's odd. When did I pick? Did I
The
pick?
5s are... Oh, yeah, they have the Alola.
Oh, I
starters, right?
Let's see. I'm looking at a 2K. Yes, so I'm looking at a 2K that I picked up earlier today. Your hatchable Pokemon are in 3 tiers. Your 1 egg, so your most common, are Eevee, Azurill, Munchlax, and Ribombee. Your 2 egg, so your uncommon hatches, are Pichu, Togepi, and Happiny. Your 3 egg, so your rare, is Riolu. So, of course.
Does that surprise you?
No. Nothing surprises me.
Nothing surprises you?
Well, the egg rarities won't
Right.
surprise me.
Field research encounters. I
Pichu.
imagine those are probably the hatch egg research I have stacked on my screen.
Yeah, I'm going to check Self right now.
I'll pull it up. You can go ahead and
Okay.
read it.
Field research task encounters Pikachu adorned with cherry blossoms, Chansey wearing a flower crown, Eevee adorned with cherry blossoms, and Togetic wearing a flower crown. So,
Hatch 1 egg, Pikachu or Eevee.
mm-hmm.
2 eggs,
Mhm.
Togetic.
Mm-hmm.
4 eggs,
Mhm.
Chansey.
Doesn't surprise me. I should do the hatch 4 eggs because I'm still looking for the hundo. My life is a mess. Collection challenge. Complete the Spring into Spring collection challenge to receive XP Stardust and a lucky egg. And a Happiny hoodie in the Avatar item shop. This is an event. The handful of people online have suggested not buying eggs due to ongoing circumstances and community outrage, which again we will get to. But I am somewhat in an agreement. I don't think there's anything in eggs that you absolutely critically need to be buying a ton of incubators for.
I mean, for me, I just took advantage of the fact that I had a bunch of incubators stacked up from our last event, and I had 10, 12 Ks because of all the rockets.
Yes. I think I've hatched 3 of them already today. So
Jeez.
No, at least 2. So that's beneficial.
But yeah, so week of that, like we mentioned, stock up on the Chansey XLs, get yourself some good potential PvP IVs if you can. Outside of that, don't go too hard on eggs unless you're someone that really wants to not wait half a year for Riolu Community Day
Mm-hmm.
or for Mega Lucario.
It's probably Mega Lucario. Because Lucario doesn't get a standard evolution. So it doesn't even fit the
3-tier motif.
the Magmar and Electabuzz Community Day format. So I just I don't know if it gets a Community Day. It might get a Spotlight. Definitely gets a Raid Hour. Unless they want to do it like the Primals.
I feel like they do like a raid day of some sort.
Make it very exclusive. Because why wouldn't they?
Give it its special. It has actually a couple of signature moves. It's got Bone Rush.
Mhm.
It's got Shadowbone. I guess that's not so exclusive now that Marowak has it, but
True.
Vacuum Wave is another one.
Aura Sphere was one of its original
Signature moves, yeah.
Mhm. So
It was the second poster child for a while.
yes, I think it's still very popular.
Yeah.
Considering Ash gets it on his
Final Journey.
final journey. Yeah, I was almost about to say the thing that's kind of sort of spoilers, but I think enough people have seen the show and heard about it. It's been out for a while long.
I actually finished it.
Okay, cool. Nice.
The last episode kind of, no spoilers, but kind of left me like, oh.
The last episode or
the last episode.
Okay. Did Japanese then?
Yeah.
Okay, because the English dub's not out for a
They're
while.
not up there yet. They're going through the league. Or the tournament.
Champion of Champions tournament.
But it just kind of left me like, oh, it's over.
Yeah, I heard. I hadn't watched it, but I've heard some. Like, oh, all right. Well,
That's it.
do you think he's coming back?
They have to at some point for fan shipping or fan service.
Fan shipping.
That's not what I meant.
I get it, but I'm still gonna laugh. Do you think he ages up, or do you think he's the same age?
Mentally or physically.
It's a great question.
I think mentally he'll be the same age.
Dumb as a box of rocks.
They just give him a few extra chin hairs.
That would be interesting.
But they can't, though, because he's immortally 11.
I'd love to see him as a Kukui-like professor.
Oh, he will be.
That would be amazing.
It's exactly. I think that's kind of what Kukui was for the anime, for the Sun and Moon anime.
Uh-huh.
He was more or less Ash's older brother or uncle.
Nice. Let's breeze through this one here, too. Regieleki arrives in Elite... I almost said Elite... Eggs.
Elite Eggs.
Elite Eggs. That's not a... By the
not
way,
wrong.
15 kilometers, walk it, and get a Regieleki. No, that's not the case.
Don't give him ideas.
It's too late. I've already spoken it into existence. Trainers, ready for an electrifying change. Test your team against Regieleki in Elite Raids. Elite Raid. Regieleki will hatch at the following times, all on Sunday, April 9th. By the way, that's Easter, 11 a.m., 2 p.m., and 5 p.m.
You know what the worst part about that is?
What?
Every one of those time slots, except maybe two,
Mm-hmm.
people of a religious belief are doing something.
Yep. They literally couldn't have done it at any other time.
Saturday.
Oh, no. I don't know. I can't fathom what the thought process is.
Thankfully, you'll be in Seattle. There are 3 gyms on that convention center.
The convention center is expanded, so I'm sure there's more than that now.
Yeah.
Both halls are actually being used by SakuraCon, so.
You know what that means?
What?
You can nominate new stops in the new hall.
I could if I wasn't already going to be busy with literally anything else.
How much are tickets?
It's like $70.
I don't want to pay $70 just to go make stops.
It might be accessible to the public when an event isn't happening, so
Oh, that's true.
we could maybe make a field trip down there at some point.
Okay. Yeah, we got packs too.
You've got packs too.
Oh.
Timed research, similar to Regidrago. Exclusive timed research will be available to trainers who complete an elite raid. It'll probably be to make a friend, because that's what they did before. This timed research can only be received once. Complete the research tasks to earn Regi Rock Candy, Regi Ice Candy, and Regi Steel Candy. What are elite raids? They're hard. And they're around for 30 minutes, and then they come back at the other times.
Is Regieleki worth making your family upset with you?
I don't know. Quick moves, Thunder Shock and Lock On. Charge moves, Hyper Beam, Thunder, and Zap Cannon.
No.
Thank you. It's is it even a good electric raider?
No.
No.
Sweet.
Yeah.
My question for you, JMR, would be: would you consider this stronger, harder, or easier than Circuitry raids?
It should. I think they'll make it slightly harder.
Just because it's an elite raid?
Yeah, but theoretically should be easy.
I mean, the hope is it has lock on because it'll attack every other attack. It won't be like, the NAIC where it's beep, 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 beep.
Right.
And then thankfully 2 of its charge moves are fairly easy to dodge, while the other one is just so fast you just take it.
Ground is your optimal counter here. The gameinfo.io, Pokemon.gameinfo.io lists the 2 forms of Landorus, Mamoswine, Excadrill, Groudon, Excadrill. I don't know. Oh, Excadrill with Earthquake, and then Excadrill with Drill Run, Garchomp or Hyperior Garchomp, and Landorus Incarnate.
I think Garchomp would be the most optimal because that's double resistance.
Yes, that is true. Attack power, it's recommending Landorus Therian.
Right.
But as far as survivability, Garchomp might be the Garchomp Mudshot Earthquake.
Yeah.
And not Mudshot Earth Power. But yes, this is a thing. It'll come back at some point. I
think if you can do one just for the decks, do it.
Yeah.
But outside of that, or getting it from someone that did have the time and availability to do it as a special trade, it's inevitable. There's no FOMO with this. It'll come back.
There shouldn't be any FOMO.
Just remember, you only get... Go ahead.
You plan your kids' egg hunt at a local park that has an EX region at 11 a.m. Just so happens to correlate with the raids.
I think that was Niantic's belief originally, not changing it from Sunday, was, oh, you'll be with other people, you'll be with family, you'll be out in parks, it's Easter, you'll be out playing with your kids. Opportunity to socialize with people, but then again, you got to remember, Niantic, it's a holiday. Why?
The weather could be bad. Who knows?
Yeah, don't go out of your way for it. If it happens, it happens.
I would have to say, based on what I've seen from... I mean, we were fortunate with Drago to be in Vancouver and have full lobbies instantly.
Mm-hmm.
But I even had locals without me, and I had told them in advance, hey, someone needs to step up and, organize if you guys are going to do it. And they all managed to get it done. I would say 5 to 6 is probably the good soft number, even with people running level 20 stuff. If you die, you just jump back in and hit it again.
Yep. It shouldn't be too bad, but yeah, 5 sounds about right.
I think the thing that excites me about it is that the thing that excites me about it is its future release, because I'd love to see an event based on the 2 DLCs, like one event based on each of the DLCs for Sword and Shield. So I'd love to see an Isle of Armor. Was it Isle of Armor?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Isle of Armor event with PvP challenges or rocket challenges or whatever to evolve Cubchoo.
Cubfu.
Cubfu. That's right. Cubchoo is a different
It's the ice one.
bear.
Snot nose.
Reggies. The Reggies being hidden, which would be interesting.
Tundra thing.
Yeah.
I like where you're going with this.
I'd love to see the Galarian birds spawn in the wild, maybe have high flea rates, but
Kind of like they do with the events.
like what
I
they
mean,
did
if
with
anything, we see a Galar event where all these things come into play.
Mhm.
Because we also still have Calrex to go through, and its 2 pony forms.
will probably be in Elite Raids first.
Yeah. I forget, because there's 2 different horses, right? There's Calrex is the
Calyrex
rider.
Is the
little
rabbit
gremlin.
thingy. And then
I want to say Nightmare because it looks like Nightmare.
I don't know what their names are.
They're the 2, Ice Horse and Ghost Horse.
Yeah, I never got very far. I got far enough to hit the raids, and that was it for that
Okay.
DLC. So I never got that.
But I do
far
feel
into
like Cubfu and its 2 its split evolutions based on path.
There's such cool things that you can do with it.
Yeah.
My mind is...
Because when you get Urshifu, it's either a water fighting or a dark fighting.
Mm-hmm. And you have to do, like, battle tower-esque challenges in the main series games. If you haven't played it, which of the two, I would say try Isle of Armor. Although
yeah,
at this
Crown
point,
Tundra was more of just everyone loved the raid crawls.
yeah, I think at this point, if you're gonna play Sword and Shield and then play Isle of Armor, just go play Scarlet and Violet because it's the open world. But I don't know.
But yeah, Ursa Kubfu has some really fun potential.
I think
If anything, it'll boil down to probably like a path, choose a path type thing.
that the Isle of Armor DLC, if you tried to bring it over and get fun with it in Pokemon Go, you could really have fun with it.
Yeah.
Do I trust that Niantic can hit that? They've done
No.
they've done
No,
pretty
no
they've done some
rollback.
pretty cool things with the events, especially the in-person events. Some of the Regicodes in the Vegas event, I was hearing some pretty cool things where it was there were the rocks or whatever hidden around with the different eye patterns with the codes underneath or whatever.
Another thing that I didn't know because we didn't go to Vegas, if you caught any of the legendaries during that Go Fest, they have the cityscape on behind their background. I had a local show me that, and I was like, "What?" So they had a Groudon and a Kyogre that had, I guess they call it the postcard background. So where you're typing on you have the Groudon and its CP card, and then in the background it alternated between the ground type background and an image of Las Vegas of the park.
That's pretty cool.
All right. I'm going to click a button or two here so that we
Get that split.
get that split between the main news roundup and the big meaty portion. Updates to Pokemon Go's remote raids. So I'm going to read... do you want me to read verbatim this blog post?
Do you want to read verbatim and break down each section, or do you want to just go over our personal thoughts?
I'm going to be really quick about it. And I'm going to break it all down, and then we're going to attack it.
Okay.
Trainers, we want to give you a heads up about changes coming to Pokemon Go's remote raid passes. These changes are designed to rebalance the game and ensure it's enjoyed by trainers for years to come. The changes will go into effect April 6th, 2023 at 11 a.m. PDT GMT -7. So pricing adjustment, you can buy 3 remote raid passes for 525 Poke Coins. Single remote raid pass will increase to 195. I think it's 150 right now?
I can check.
A premium bottle pass 3-pack will be added to the shop for a price of 250 Poke Coins.
It's 100 right now.
It's 100 now, so it goes up to 195. Roughly every 100 Poke Coins is $1. Roughly. US dollar, by the way. Remote raid participation limits. Trainers will be able to participate in a maximum of 5 remote raids per day. This maximum may change and increase for special events. I'm basically reading it verbatim. It's actually pretty light here. Remote raid passes. Remote raid passes will be included in the pool of potential rewards for research breakthroughs. Remote raid passes earned via research breakthroughs will still be subject to existing inventory limit of 3 remote raid passes per trainer. If a trainer earns a remote raid pass from a research breakthrough while at the 3 remote raid pass limit, they will receive a premium battle pass instead. Purchases of remote raid pass 3-packs will allow you to hold up to 5 remote raid passes if you purchase it with 2 remote raid passes already in your inventory. Complex math. Pokemon Go is an item management game. Confirmed.
Resource management.
I didn't quote that. The Pokemon or Super Effective referenced it. It's super effective. The Pokemon Cast, whatever. They're right though. That's it. We're playing a storage management game. Candy XL. Trainers who participate in 5-star raids in person will earn more Candy XL than before. Those are the main bullet points. Tiny last little bit paragraphs here. Since their introduction in 2020, remote raid passes have come to dominate the experience of playing Pokemon Go in a way we never intended. Rewarding trainers with additional XL candy and adding other new features are 2 of the ways we hope to further incentivize playing Pokemon Go in person with your friends, family, and community. We plan to keep remote raid passes as part of Pokemon Go. However, we believe this change is necessary for the long-term health of the game, and we do not make it lightly. We feel this is a necessary step towards our goal of preserving and improving the unique experience of playing Pokemon Go, a game we hope you continue to enjoy long into the future. Do you mind if I start us off?
Go for it.
So there's 2 bits here in the article that I want to point out off the top. The second sentence in this article. These changes are designed to rebalance the game and ensure it's enjoyed by trainers for years to come. It's a very interesting statement. Somewhat presumptuous, I guess. Ensure it's enjoyed by traders for years to come. You can change the game and it will be enjoyed by trainers years to come. I don't know. They are not giving up on the game for the years to come. They will continue to develop it. I don't know. It seems like a very odd statement to make here, rather than just bullet pointing out what they're talking about.
I mean, I took that as what their plan has been all along. Drip feed content.
The second bit here, and it's the bottom here, bottom 2 paragraphs. Remote raid passes have come to dominate the experience of playing Pokemon Go in a way we never intended, which shouldn't be a bad thing. Rewarding trainers with additional XL candy and adding other new features are 2 of the ways we hope to further incentivize playing Pokemon Go in person with your friends, family, and community. There's no reason you can't remote raid with your community. You don't have to be right next to each other. By the way, the COVID pandemic is still around. COVID's not gone. It's no less. It doesn't affect the communities any less than before. It just so happens that the vaccines are more effective at preventing strong symptoms and long-term effects. Those long-term effects, fatalities can still happen. Same thing as day 1. Second sentence of this last paragraph. However, we believe this change is necessary for the long-term health of the game, and we do not make it lightly. We feel this is a necessary step towards our goal of preserving and improving the unique experience of playing Pokemon Go, a game we hope you continue to enjoy long into the future. They believe that the change is necessary for the long-term health of the game, and they do not make it lightly. They, as trainer tips and several other community leaders, people that have been in the pool of content creators and community leaders that have spoken to Niantic as part of their partner program. They have talked to Niantic. They have given numerous suggestions on how this can be handled separately. How this could be handled in a different way. Niantic took none of that feedback, apparently. So has been said by other people.
I mean, they could take the feedback, but enacting upon it.
They haven't taken any of that feedback and decided to continue with the route that they have been saying all along.
Okay.
So, that being said, I don't, on a daily, weekly, and potentially even on average monthly basis, I do not interact with remote raid passes. So my comments, criticisms can be taken with a grain of salt. Because at the end of the day, this doesn't really affect my way that I experience the game. I experience the game by catching Pokemon that are out in the wild and walking a lot and just aiming for the 50 kilometers a week goal. So, who wants to go next? Who has strong opinions?
Jmar, would you like to give your opinion?
I think I'm in the minority of this. Now, I don't fully agree with the execution, but I do agree with what they mean when they say that it changed the game in a way they never intended. So I add them in the Kirkland Discord, right? And pre-COVID, I'd say we had probably one of the healthiest communities in the greater Seattle area. Now, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I think we had a really good blend of casual and hardcore players that were really nice to each other and were able to help each other out whenever raid bosses came around. And we had a good group, a good core group of folks who did their daily raids and try to reel people in and get them into our server. Our server has 1,500 people, and our town is a pretty decently sized town. When we went into COVID and we went into mostly remote raiding type things, a lot of those hardcore players went to more exclusive raid groups, private servers that like to be more hardcore and were doing raids around the clock, right? They could do raid hours in Australia and Europe and all over the place, right? So they were able to grind even more, right? And I think the disparity between what used to be hardcore in person versus casual became even larger as their access to not that anyone couldn't go join these servers, right? But it became kind of exclusive for some of these servers. But if you wanted to, you could grind way more remote wise than in the past, right? Like you could just do it from home or during a break at work or whatever it may be. So I do think it changed the way the game played and it impacted my community in a way that I think kind of fragmented my community and kind of slowed down the interactions. So I was hoping that they would incentivize in-person raids in a different way. I didn't think they would decentivize remote raids so harshly. So I agree with the tenet of we should go try to incentivize people back, but I don't think this is quite the correct way of doing it. Just because it doesn't further incentivize me as a regular player to actually go back in person, right? Like, I'm not getting much out of it for the extra effort to try to coordinate folks in person.
Mm-hmm.
It'll just make me raid less. It's easy for me to do my daily, ask for 5 people to help me out, send 5 invites, and do my daily. I don't do many remote raids anymore. But I do go out of my way to do my daily when I'm walking my dogs, right? But I'm going to have to wait for people to show up or whatever because I'm going to have less people wanting to do remotes because of how expensive it is. So it'll definitely change my day-to-day. I probably won't do as many dailies. But I'd rather them have gone with, we're giving you extra XP, we're giving you extra dust, we're giving you extra rare candy XL, whatever more incentives you can do for in-person raids than what they've chosen to do. So I understand where they're coming from. I'm just surprised at how not well thought out this is, in my opinion.
And actually, so you bring up the good point of organizing your community to do raids together. That brings up the association there of with the remote raids, the community hasn't been together and hasn't done. I very fondly remember doing raid trains on like raid days when a new like Kyogre came out, and we would have 4 to 6 cars driving through town because our gyms aren't near enough. We'd have at least 2 full lobbies going for 45 minutes. That community and that communication, that habit hasn't happened since COVID started. So we're looking at 3 years 2.5, 3 years since that's last happened. The benefits of additional XL candy in-person raids are great for singular people, but I wonder if some sort of bonus of, hey, if you're doing an in-person raid with people on your friends list, you get additional rewards for.
Yeah, like a +1 interaction or a more lucky chance or anything, right? Yeah, honestly, they could have designed it in any other way to incentivize those things. Yeah, I also have those fond memories. I think like the bird raid days, we had like 80 people, like that's a huge group of folks like that. And you think about, I can't imagine how many people showed up to like EX raids, as poorly designed as those were. We still got a lot of folks in there, but like elite raids are in the same vein, but I see much lower participation than pre-COVID, right? So I think they needed to design more incentives into in-person raids than just you get some extra candy XL of the boss that you're catching.
And I wonder, looking, if you do a direct comparison of the EX raids to elite raids currently, if your participation might be up with elite raids, but I think your community engagement, I think, is down. I think your communities they don't have to coordinate as far as getting together and join. The EX raid feature of, okay, I have an EX raid pass and a +1 pass, but not everyone else does, so who needs it? So you're, communicating back and forth who can make it. Versus elite raids, it's a numbers game of, okay, what's the minimum we need? I'll just go there and
get a few of my personal friends and we'll just do it ourselves.
Yeah, or I'll go to a busy spot and hopefully there will be enough people or something like that.
That's the one that I always, and kind of what I wanted to segue into is, I understand Niantic wants you to get out and play with other random people, but not everybody has the ability to do that. And there are many facets that come from that criteria. It's one thing to be able to socially interact with people that you've never met, whereas it's not always safe. Like, I'll just be the first to say it. It's going somewhere with your phone with a group of people that you potentially don't know. It's never easy to just be like, hey, I see you play. Hey there, fellow human. I see you play a Pokemon phone tap game. Can I join?
Yeah, it's not that natural, right?
No, it never is. It's someone always has. If it's not someone that you know or have rated or played with before, it's always that awkward, hey, can I hang out with you? And I personally, going like if I were to go to Monroe, not knowing any of the people there, I'm not going to go out of my way to ask to self-insert myself into another group, if that makes sense. I'll just kind of hide in the shadow and sit up against the wall, and if they go in the lobby, I'll jump in. And I think that's unfortunately what a bunch of casual players that aren't part of these groups are, is they see. I mean, back when when raids first came out, it would always be etiquette to just, once the raid hatched, go in and do it. And if you didn't get in, try and find people and all this mishmash of things. And that really hasn't changed. It's, if you're not part of a group, if you're not part of a chat, if you're not part of a community, you just go to a raid egg when it hatches and hope there's enough people or that you get in at the right time. But as someone that organizes these meetups and these events, not everyone can make it right at hatch. So we wait another 5 minutes or wait, the half hour, because there's always that one person that never shows up on time. And
I'm 5 minutes away, 20 minutes
later. Yeah, exactly. But that becomes harder for people that are sitting across the street looking at you like, are you guys going to go in? And there's the problem isn't the people don't want to be together and play the game. It's the interaction.
And this brings in an interesting, and Frisket you, Jasmine, hey, how's it going? And you bring up a good point with the step backs on the remote raid passes are most certainly ableist, and there's a conversation to be had on that topic in particular, but I do want to bring in it feels like with the last 3 years we've had, the communities that we've built, the communication channels, the engagement that we've had in Discord servers and Facebook chats and however else people have organized, it feels like that's broken down. And with the push of these changes and the Niantic's upheaval and fervor with in-person gatherings, we have to rebuild the communities.
Mm-hmm.
We have to rebuild these in-person communities, and I think that's a great spot. If it worked better or more people were using it, Campfire.
Yeah. I think Campfire is just a little too late to the game.
I think there's something missing there. And maybe it's just because I don't use it and I don't know all of its features, and it's not integrated enough where I'll
put it this way. It's not beginner user friendly.
Mm-hmm.
If you're someone like some of the elders in our local group, it's a little difficult to understand, but if you've used Discord, it's pretty fluid.
Mm-hmm. I think Campfire could be a very useful tool to rebuilding these communities, but it is a matter of getting there.
And having people that want to be a leader.
Yeah, it's the leadership, but also I think it's not well integrated into the app, right? Like as soon as you have to I already have Discord, so why would I want to download a second app to coordinate stuff, right? So there's a lot of folks that don't even want to do Discord, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
trust me, I know our locals
Campfire. So
our locals won't use anything other than Facebook Messenger, and I've tried so many times.
Oh, I fought that battle for years, and I finally cut that cord. But that's something that every community is different, right? But I think that the lack of integration into the app, it feels like way more integrated into the app, and that you could do more chatting or coordinating through Pokemon Go with a Campfire background of some sort, then I think it would be a little bit better. But I don't think they're robust enough to implement that, so they had to separate it out into its own standalone app, right?
You're trying to do PvP and chat notifications start popping up in game.
Right, totally.
I think like just the flare, like popping a flare on a raid and letting people know, hey, we're gonna go in at this time. Even if just that was put into Pokemon Go natively, that would be huge.
I mean, it kind of is. You get that little orange bar in the bottom right corner. They could use it the same way they do for if your friend directly invites you.
Oh. I mean, you could put it there, sure. Like, I don't really care how they implement it, but I think having, that notification that says, oh, there's people around me
just
in
put
person.
Like a little Tinder icon in the bottom right.
I mean, whatever they got to do. Yeah, it's a match. They're doing the raid too. I don't care. I don't care how they do it, but I think just implementing that one feature, like not even have a group chat, but just seeing, okay, someone else is within the vicinity.
Within the distance, yeah.
Yeah. Like don't populate the remote raids. You have to be around it within, it has to be on your map for you to be able to see a flare.
Would you say within 2 minutes of walking?
Like, how
it has to be on the map.
See,
it has to be on your map.
Like the AR stops that are powered up, how they like are physically different. If there was a way to like power up a gym when you're there or close by, that you physically can see that the gym is being interacted with. That's
all it needs.
There's your incentive for playing locally.
Right.
Yeah, if you're out and about and you see, I personally don't touch 3 stars, I don't touch 5 stars. I can't solo those. But if I see a 3-star or 5-star that I'm somewhat interested in doing, and I see, hey, someone else is interested in doing this and they're local, I'll hit the button, I'll say I'm interested too. And then maybe we hop in immediately. Maybe they set a time and saying, hey, in 5 minutes, I'm going to do it. And I can be like, all right, cool. I can wait 5 minutes and I can do it too.
There's other games that do that already. I want to be a tank, so I queue up as a tank.
Who would have guessed? It's a feature that maybe works well.
I want to play DPS, has a 20-minute queue. Wow.
I mean, but in that case, like, it doesn't matter what role you're playing because there aren't multiple roles in raids.
Not yet.
Raids are tapping simulators.
But I want to be the one that holds the tap the longest.
I don't care. The game doesn't care.
But no, did you have anything else you wanted to add to your opinion, Jamar?
I know before the show, I think Steven asked about the, like, what does this do to, like, Master League specialists in terms of factions?
Yes.
And, you know, like, Master League specialists are a very special kind of player, right?
They are.
The amount of resources that they need to be able to competitively stay on top of a very expensive meta is, it's a lot. I don't think it impacts existing Master League specialists because whales are going to whale, right? Like, they're going to find a way somehow, some way. I don't think you'll see many new Master League specialists, if that makes any sense, right? Like, it'll be harder for people to want to enter into that sphere, right? So it'll probably cause a shortage of players. If, like, oh, so and so needs to take a cycle off, it's going to be harder to backfill with newer players. Like, you need to find someone who has the existing resources to fill that slot. So I think we have no idea what the number is on that in-person XL number, but, like, it would have to be like 10 XLs per raid for it to be anywhere near something that people actually will go out of their way to try and grind, right? Because that would go from, what is it now, like 70 raids to get all 296 down to, like, if you could go down to like 30 raids. You know, I think you can do 30 raids in person,
one a day
over
for
a
free pass each month.
over a 2-week period if you're doing, you know, 2 a day or so. Right?
Well,
like,
yeah. So then you have to factor in, say, Master League. You're doing it for a legendary Pokemon. Those rotate once a week, and you're only able to do 6, 7 with a free pass, which means you have to be paying money for premium passes to do those in person.
And the other big thing is the IV control, right? Like, if you don't get a hundo, are you even gonna is it even worth investing in it, right? So, like, you know, you could luck out and get it in that week, but you have to do 300 grades to be like, I feel comfortable in getting a good 98 or 100, right? And that's just a large number.
And with Master League, that is maxed out. If you don't have the hundo, there's a chance your opponent and you clash and you both have the same. And if they have the hundo and you have the 15, 15, 14, they're still going to win CMP.
Yeah, there's, you know, match specific implications if you don't have, depending on if you're running something a little lackluster, or if you don't, you need to be running something per meta. Although, correct me, Master League Specialists is just open Master League, correct? Or there are bans?
Sylph has actually done a really good job of making Master League a little bit more accessible. This past season, they've implemented certain megas to be allowed, and those mega Pokemon are, you know, pretty strong. So, you know, if you have a Mega Gengar, you don't need a level 50 Giratina, right?
That's true.
So, you know, and Gengar has had Community Day, so you probably have a ton of XLs, and you probably have, it's been around for a long time. And so if you have a good IV Gengar that you had from years ago, you can Mega it and all that. But Sylph has done, they've also implemented like point systems. Like, you get 8 points, and there's tiers, you know, Mewtwo's 4 points, and Dialga's 4 points, and, you know, you have Dragonite at 2 points, things like that, right? Where you kind of have a point tier system that you have to build your team around.
So kind of like what they did with Cliffhanger back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think, you know, Sylph they're well aware of the restrictions and limitations of people with access to level 50 Pokemon, etc. But they've done really creative ways of keeping the meta, one, refreshing, because they change the point tiers every now and then, so you don't see the same cores every cycle. And two, adding in and restricting certain cores by tiering them out. So I expect them to probably, when Master League first came out, they limited you to 2 legendaries on a team. So I can expect them to do something like, you know, something similar if they feel like accessibility is an issue. But Silph is a lot more player friendly than like GBL, right? Like you're not going to get that kind of Niantic making it friendly to go play level 50 GBL Master League, right? It's if you want to be competitive, Factions is definitely the better way to go be competitive in Master League than GBL is, because if you don't have a level 50 Dialga and Zacian, what are you doing, right?
Yeah, there was a unofficially official comment by Niantic referencing the additional XL candy for in-person rewards is a way for them to make Master League more friendly to more people. So they're doubling down on it not being Master League Classic, on it being just straight Master League with a level cap of 50. But the XL candy, especially for legendaries, is going to be more XL candy rewards for the Pokemon from in-person raids, though we have no details as far as values. And they're just not really budging on.
If you're really min-maxing, right, you have a Mega 3 level Mega 3 Pokemon that boosts your drops, and you get this in person. Like if you can, like I said, if you can get 10 to 12 XLs per raid, that's huge. But not everyone is that min-max. Again, I don't think it really is going to impact that many people to be able to actually field a team of Master League, in my opinion. It just isn't like. But I understand where Niantic is coming from in that it's been over 2 years since level 50 came around, right? For me as a casual player, it's taken 2 years. I finally have some level 50 legendaries, right? But that's 2 years. That's a long time. And I had a decent resource bank before level 50 was introduced, right? I had more rare candy. I had plenty of Stardust because I've been playing since day one. But I can't imagine a new player showing up and being like, yeah, this is something I want to do, because it's that level of that barrier to eventually to Master League is just, if you saw someone start up the game today, they wouldn't be able to play a level 50 Master League at a high elo range, right? That's just.
I mean, arguably you wouldn't be able to play any meta with a high elo.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some new players, able to play Great League pretty well, but it's like, yeah, you're right. Lickitung is very expensive. Metachan's very expensive. If you go looking at the Little Cup right now that's on there, people are running level 50 bronzers in Little Cup. Like, that's pretty insane that people put that kind of resources into these metas, right? So.
Yeah, it's interesting that that specific example of Little Cup, they bring it around, people say, hey, this is pretty bad and not accessible to be running a hundo maxed out Bronzor. Like, maybe this should get changed. And then they bring out a version of Little Cup where Bronzor is banned for 2 seasons, at least a season, if not 2. And then they are like, yeah, you know what, it's been enough time, let's bring it back. And it's like, why?
Yeah, the most common thing I saw in Little Cup, the few games I played, was just Bronzor and Wynut level 50 everywhere.
Oh god, Wynut. Yep. Oh, I didn't consider Wynut.
It's gross.
Yeah, that's because that's a near hundo level 50 Wynut.
Yep.
What's its moveset?
Counter. And I think Mirror Coat.
Wow. So because Shadow Wobbuffet wasn't niche enough, let's make its
child form stronger.
Child form also really niche, but also really powerful. Goodness gracious.
Because if you could never find that purified Wobbuffet, why not max out a Wynut?
Yep. And that still hasn't
have
come
a second charge if it's just counter a Mirror Coat.
Yeah.
That's insane. I do kind of want to double back to the ableist, the Frisketchu, please. Doubling back to the comment that this change is definitely ableist. I've said it before, and I don't know if I've said it. No one's coming after me, so I guess I said
Give
it.
us some heat.
I guess I said it reasonably before.
Let them cook.
But Pokemon Go is inherently ableist, I guess, as a fitness tracker / video game / item management simulator. It's inherently ableist.
It's never been friendly to folks with disabilities.
And I think remote raid passes were like the forbidden fruit of, hey, this is really good. Like this is like really good for like the health of the game for everybody. But I think Niantic is, they're not singling out people. This isn't necessarily malicious. I think, well, it's ignorantly malicious. I don't think it's. I don't think it's
intent behind it, right? It's not intentional.
It's not evil malicious. This isn't like a Disney villain coming after them.
Right.
This is
unintentional.
This is Sonic the Hedgehog running at the speed of sound. By the way, because you're running at like a Mach 2 or 3, your sonic booms are destroying property wherever you go. He's not evil. It just so happens that what he does is causing damage.
Impacting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I mean, this game has had its issues with all sorts of things, right? With accessibility, from players that are outside of major cities to players who physically can't get out and be out and about as much, right? Like the game historically has never been that friendly to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that it's a good thing that they're doing this, because clearly it's further taking accessibility away from certain folks of playing it in a way that they were used to playing it for years.
Mm-hmm. It's a very interesting point, and I recently have brought the I can't ever tell if it's the Pokemon Cast, PKMN Cast. It's Super Effective, I believe, is the title of the podcast itself. I brought them up. I started listening to them recently. They brought up a really interesting point that's not confirmed, but it's a potential, it's a hypothetical, that Niantic and Pokemon Go's role within the collection of Pokemon video games. Pokemon Go is meant to be played outside, out and about, and is not meant to be played at home. When you are at home, you are meant to be playing the main series game or Unite or another Pokemon experience. It is Pokemon Go is the way to, while you are out and about, keep you connected to the Pokemon universe.
The Pokemon franchise.
The Pokemon franchise. And again, this is purely speculative, but it's pretty genius. And it's not something that I did not come up with this. They brought this up. If you want to go listen, it's the most recent episode of theirs. What?
Jasmine's gone.
Well, no. Well, you can play Pokemon Go while driving. That's the thing. You can play Pokemon Go while driving. You can go do in-person raids while driving. You can go drive up to an in-person raid and do the raid. There's nothing against that.
You could be that person.
You can be that person.
Have you guys started your raid? Yeah, park your car. Come join us. No, I'm good. I'll play from here.
Yeah, it's
someone.
Yep. There is very little they can do to try and prevent people from in their cars playing Pokemon Go. There is so little. But in the long term, it's this game. I don't think ignorantly malicious is just how it feels like and I don't think they're not going to change. Someone somewhere, either within Niantic or the Pokemon Company or Nintendo or somewhere along this line, has said, and it's probably just Niantic because their overall pillars of development for this app is be outside, communicate with other people, make a community, and explore.
I mean, I hate to make this analogy, and correct me at any point if I'm wrong, but I don't think, like you've mentioned, Niantic didn't have the intent of not allowing certain people to play. If you're someone with a disability, do you go to Disneyland assuming you can ride all the rides?
That brings up the great example of if you are prone to epilepsy, do you go ride Space Mountain? Where it is a dark ride with lights whirring past you. And I am not against accessibility. I want people to be able to experience everything that they can.
I do too.
It is it's a tough place to be in. It's a tough spot that I don't want. It feels like they want to. They are inadvertently gatekeeping, and that is probably just what they're going to do.
It's an interesting way to put it.
They are. I mean, it's similar phrasing to unintentionally being malicious. They just
I
are
think
going to
gatekeeping
gatekeep.
is the more less offensive way of saying it.
Their game is going to gatekeep certain people because that is how the game fitness tracker. I mean the
intent of the design.
The item management of it, both bag and Pokemon inventory, etc., can be played by all at any point in time, unfortunately, because it is one of the worst parts of the game, arguably, is the management of it.
Mm-hmm.
But the going out and exploring and the catching of Pokemon and the doings of raids and hatchings of eggs are inherently gate-kept by going outside and having points of interest and experiences outside. So
to kind of wrap up this portion, I think my opinion on it is putting limit to 5 remote raid passes per day outside of events like mentioned. Is that hard? I think they could maybe have incentives there to unlock the ability to do more.
They could cap certain resources or do something else at 5, but allow people to do more. I think the cost increase of going up by about 100% of what the regular raid passes are,
I disagree with that.
Is maybe too much.
Yeah.
I think they could have gone up by maybe 50%.
I think 50% would have been fair.
They could have gone up by 50%. They could increase the in-person raid rewards and the 5 remote pass, the 5 remote raids per day requirement is maybe a little too restrictive to begin with.
No. I mean, but that also is as Jamar has mentioned, your whales are going to keep doing raids regardless. They're the ones that I think are most affected by this, especially like we have discussed, people that are in Master League, they need these resources, so they need to do more.
And if they're going to spend the money, let them. That's the kind of the confusing thing of Niantic is
they're literally foregoing profits.
It's such a confusing decision to see this, to watch them.
Money on the table.
Yeah, like
lots of money on the table.
We don't know what the numbers are. They can look at their cost benefit analysis and their number of people that are actually using remote raid passes to such an exorbitant amount.
The average player does not do more than 5 remote raid passes. I'm sure that that is the average player.
Same boat.
However, the top 1% of raiders, I'm sure, outspend the average player, right? So why wouldn't you just
let them go crazy?
Yeah.
And the other part of this for myself personally is all during COVID, prior and post, raid night, I was in person for all of the raids. There might have been one or two where I didn't make it out, but for me personally, I know there's a community that part of the community that wants to go back to in person. I'm one of those people. I love being out and seeing everybody. And we had a meetup last week, I think, 2 weeks ago. We had a pre-gold lure for a half hour before raid hour, and then went straight from the gold lures to walk around town and do a couple of Ho-Oh raids. I think the biggest thing is, not necessarily the biggest thing, but I know it is a factor, is because of the accessibility to have remote raid passes, no one has shown up in person. Because why would I go downtown for 5 minutes when I could just stay at home and spend the same price I would if I were to go in person?
Yeah.
I think the price increase, if it was only 50%, might incentivize people to go back to being in person. But the accessibility in which remote raids gave people the option to just couch raid is, I think that is where you see the split in the community. Why should I have to go out when I can just sit at home for the same price?
Yeah, like I said, a lot of the hardcore raiders in my community went to hardcore servers, and they don't even raid in my server anymore, in our local server, right? And I know they still raid, and I know they still play a lot. And so when if they want to continue that level of grind, whether it be XP or XL candies or searching for hundos, they're gonna have to go back in person and ask for help and ask for coordination, which I think is good for my own community's sake. I think getting those people back out and seeing their faces and seeing them interact with our old friends, that's good. I do recognize that they've made really good friends in their online communities, and I do hope that they're able to maintain those relationships online and in their own service as well, right? I don't think, it isn't a mutually exclusive thing. You can have online communities of an online game, right, worldwide, and also have its in-person benefits. It doesn't have to be one or the other. I think that's really where Niantic missed the mark here.
I'd agree. I think, for me personally, I'm honestly burnt out. I've been doing raid hosting for our local communities for 6 years now. I want to see the community come back together, but I also don't want to have to carry it on my shoulders. I don't want to have to go out every Wednesday and go, okay, I'm going to these raids. Who's coming with me? And then try to organize that. The caravan of cars we used to have for like the bird raid days was just, I didn't get the chance to play the game. It was me passing my phone to Steven and then using my other phone to coordinate everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, Kirkland was special in that we had very dedicated routes, and we did a lot of that pre-planned and knew our routes. And if you lost track, you knew where to find the train. Get back on at this station at this park.
Yeah,
that's where we're going. Find us. We're not stopping. But yeah, it's a lot of work. It was a lot of work, and at this point in my life, I'm not sure that I'm willing to put in any more effort. It's kind of one of those things. I hope that a lot of these folks organize, right, and start to get some of these things and back in track. Get those raid hours at certain spots in town coordinated by one or two individuals that isn't me.
Right.
Yeah, and I wonder if with the route tracker system mechanics that they've talked about, those kinds of integrations with better integrations again with Campfire, that there's ways to use Campfire as that tool to help
the route planner
for raid hours. The only
downside with
tools.
that is you also have to assume that every gym in that route gets the raid on time.
And that's another issue with why haven't they figured out a way to make sure that every gym gets the egg at 6?
I can't tell you how many times Proto Man has complained to me, why on this event is not every gym getting this thing? She's
Yeah.
like, I don't know, man. I don't make the game.
You would think that something that they advertise as, raid hour, that you would actually get the whole hour.
It,
You've seen Juanita. We have 20 gyms in sight, and sometimes it's like, oh, we only got 7 today. Whoops.
That must be nice.
It must be nice, but it's so ridiculous, and that shouldn't be hard. Like, this
shouldn't be that hard.
Why?
Yep.
I mean, for here, us in town, the direct downtown of North Bend, I think we have, let's see, if you're in the center of downtown at the QFC, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 gyms. And during radar, the number that I see consistently have on 6 o'clock are maybe 8. If we're lucky, 3.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be hard, but
Again, if they're incentivizing people to be out and about, they need to do better with that incentive, right?
I don't know why it's so hard for them to give people free stuff.
We're rewarding you trainers with these things, and if you click the other new features in that blog, it just shoots you over to them talking about elite raids and campfire. It's like in the community ambassador program. Well, like, that isn't rewarding me.
It's making me do more work.
Yeah. Like, I'm not gaining more XP. I'm not getting more Stardust.
Like what are they afraid of giving people? Are they afraid of giving out too many free items?
I don't understand what they could possibly be scared of.
They're afraid of giving you things without you walking around.
Without earning them?
Basically.
Yeah, they're afraid of you speedrunning the game, which you can't really speedrun this game.
Pokemon Go speedrun challenge incoming.
You can any percent speedrun level 1 through 40, and then level 41 through 50. It's a nightmare, but people have done it. So yeah, the difficult thing that I always have to ground myself with is the thought that some of the mechanics, especially like the daily incense, took one person. I don't remember what specifically. It wasn't the daily incense, but there was a more recent mechanic that took one person an entire year to program.
Kecleon.
No, that wasn't.
Wasn't Kecleon?
It wasn't Kecleon. But there was a particular thing that took a very long time to do. And the nightmare that I have to remind myself of, if that's the dev time for a mechanic like that, say a mechanic like the Daily Incense, and it takes one person to do that, imagine all of the people that have previously worked on the game that have amassed bits and pieces of code to get things to work, the raid hours.
Oh, was it Zorua?
Potentially.
Okay.
The back end of this game, of this app, is probably a nightmare.
Oh, I've heard
any
this.
Of these,
it's a dumpster fire coding.
Any of the bug fixes, of the consistencies, the raid hours all spawning at the same time and overriding, the amount of dev time it would take for someone to parse through the code and understand what's going on, let alone to fix it so that all raid eggs for 5 stars hatched at 6 o'clock, would take a bunch of time and would shift dev time away from new features to bug fixes that would be quality of life for a period of time, when currently we complain profusely, but we deal with it anyway.
Yeah. And I think that was something that when we met with some people that do stuff for the game had said that it's a lot easier for them as developers to sweep under the rug something that's broken and then smooth it over and work on something else.
Like, it wouldn't surprise me if we don't get like some of the really odd stuff with raids, like people trying to solo raids and it's just a nightmare of like health regenning and all of this stuff. It wouldn't surprise me if at some point they're just going to say, hey, we've redone raids. Here's a new way of doing raids.
Interesting point on that, and I don't want to stray too much further because I don't know how much longer we want to keep going on this topic, but I had a friend that's an incredible casual at this game say that they wished this was more like the main series games and you had turn-based. Now, it was like in my head, I was like, I can understand where they're coming from, but that's a completely overhaul of the system at that point, and then it's just another main series game.
Yeah.
It's like, if you want that, go home, play Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah. Any final points before we move forward?
I'm good.
None here.
Okay. Well, I think that was very solid as far as a discussion. We were not overtly hateful. If you are going to be hateful, listeners, I'm talking to you directly. If you're going to be hateful, if you're going to write death threats, stop.
Oh,
Don't.
Think about it.
Don't.
And don't. And then maybe go see a therapist, because like whether you think you need it or not, you probably need it. I'm sorry, therapists. I'm about to just boost your business by a lot. Pokemon Go players, go see therapy. Seek therapy.
I've seen the worst of video game communities, or just gaming communities in general.
People in general, man.
Pokemon Go is pretty bad, but it is nowhere near as bad as League.
Oh, I don't want to make this a
comparison.
A throwing contest as far as what communities are the worst. But I would just say,
be better.
Most people are like, I don't need therapy. No, you do. You do. You need therapy. I need therapy.
If you're getting to the point where you have to threaten someone because you're upset with their product, you need to probably stop using their product.
It's a product. Go find something else.
If you're this angry about a game, find a new game. It's a game at the end of the day.
Stop playing Pokemon Go and start playing Scarlet and Violet. Sit at home and play Scarlet and Violet and do the raids. Also, get good at the raids. Stop being the rando that's running with legendaries all the time. It's bad.
I feel very called out.
Let me just put the Pokemon Go soapbox away and pull out the Scarlet and Violet soapbox.
But Steven, I want to use my box art in my raids.
I'm gonna annihilate you with words. No, it's a joke, Spalek. No. All right, so we will pivot once more to I think what is going to be our final topic here for episode 100 is going to be the Play Pokemon circuit and a new announcement for, I believe it's just North America.
Currently, yes.
We'll skim through it. March 29th, 2023 via Pokemon.com under their Play Pokemon news section for Play Pokemon. Play Pokemon in-store competitions are returning. Pokemon TCG and Pokemon Go players can hone their skills and earn championship points beginning in April 2023, followed by the return of VG local competitions in May. VG video game. Players can soon once again battle for prizes, glory, and championship points at exciting in-store Play Pokemon events in the 2023 Championship Series season. By the way, as a small aside, I never quite know how to pronounce Play Pokemon because it is Play Pokemon. So should I say Play Pokemon or just Play Pokemon?
Play Pokemon.
Yeah, it's weird.
You gotta say Play Pokemon.
Yeah. Do you have to exclaim it? I don't know.
There's an exclamation point there. Yes.
For Pokemon TCG players, League Cups and League Challenges are returning soon. League Challenges are the first rung of true competitive play, with small championship points payouts to get players started on their road to the 2023 World Championships in Yokohama, Japan. For players looking to test themselves even further, League Cups offer higher championship point awards to top finishers. I'm going to skip the VGC. I just talked about TCG, where that doesn't matter in this podcast. I'm sorry. Pokemon Go players in the North America rating zone can soon compete in exciting local competitions too. Pokemon Go challenges bring together competitors of all skill levels to battle for the chance to earn championship points. In this first season, players who earn the most championship points at Pokemon Go challenges will be eligible to earn travel stipends to the North America International Championships happening this summer in Columbus, Ohio. For details, see the Pokemon Go challenges page. Players can look forward to the evolution of championship points in the Pokemon Go Championship Series in the 2024 season as we work to expand to other rating zones. The Play Pokemon format for locals is equivalent to quote-unquote locals if you are familiar with other competitive formats. The Pokemon Go format for locals within Play Pokemon is... I already have it open here. Lol. Is going to run very similarly competitive-wise to the formats within regional tournaments. So it's going to be Great Leagues, 1,500.
Show 6, pick 3.
Show 6, pick 3. Bans are going to be the similar per duration because they've adjusted some of the bans and eligibility of Pokemon moving forward. I think at this point some of the Shadow Pokemon are eligible.
It'll be the next one.
The next, so not Fort Wayne, but whatever's happening.
Oh, no, I think it is Fort Wayne.
So Fort Wayne this last weekend,
right? So now
had the
this
Shadow
coming
eligible?
weekend, Shadows will be available.
which there isn't anything going on this weekend. The next one isn't until May.
Portland, right? Yeah.
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 Here, locally
yeah.
for us, yes.
Portland, I think, will be the next major North American tournament, regional wise.
Which
is
is
the
when
beginning of
they
May.
will allow things like Shadow Regice, Shadow Hoenn starters, and Driftblim and Donphan.
Alolan Grimer.
Yeah, and Grimer and Muck.
Let's see. Pokemon Go Challenge tournaments are competitive events held regularly at game stores that host Play Pokemon events. It's a great way to understand the fundamentals of battling in Pokemon Go, as well as the ideal place to test your skills in battle against other Pokemon Go players. In the 2023 season, Pokemon Go Challenges are available only to players in the North America rating zone. These events will be available for organizers to run from April 14th to June 18th. It is shortened just because we are already quite a way into the Play Pokemon season currently. Players must bring their own devices to compete. Phones will not be provided by the tournament organizer for use. In order to participate, players must have a Pokemon Trainer Club account, be in good standing in the Play Pokemon program, and comply with any local regulations for in-store events. Registration for these events are handled by the local tournament organizers of a Play Pokemon store, and an entry fee may be charged at their discretion. Some events may have special promotions, blah, 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 blah. Check in with your local Play Pokemon retailer for availability and distribution. Please check the event locator for details about each event, including information regarding registration. Pokemon Go 2023 Pokemon Go Challenge events. Pokemon Go Challenge events will typically be held once per month at select Pokemon League locations. These events consist of only Swiss rounds in the same tournament format as TCG League challenges. Let's see. That is about it as far as relevant details. There's championship points, distributions, etc. further down.
And it's top 8 players in North America with the most CP will be eligible for that travel stipend. That's the big point.
That's a lot, first of all.
Yeah.
So this is kind of sort of Play Pokemon's take on Silpharina's not meta format, but core format of monthly tournaments.
Monthly meetups for tournaments.
It's Swiss. It's locals.
Locals and Swiss is a good combination because that means you'll be more or less playing everyone that shows up, and you'll be able to start learning names and faces. It's a good way to socially interact. I used to be part of the scene for Smash Brothers locals, and it was a great way to get to be friends with people or enemies, depending on how you play with them. But it was more or less, if you were, like for us, we're in King County. If this is true to us for starting here in the greater Seattle area, we will more than likely see the same people going to the same 3 tournaments a month, if not repeating. And I think that'll mostly come down to how many, even with Swiss, if only 2 people show up, that's only 1 round.
Yes. So the thing that they reference here, and it's something we've seen at the regional tournaments, is that the 3 different age divisions that Play Pokemon operates under does not apply to Pokemon Go. They just don't have enough competitors to have the 3 age divisions.
But if it gets to the point, then they might.
In the next couple of years, if competitive Pokemon Go continues to grow, then they will apply it. But as of this season, it does not appear that they are going to do that. That was one of the big talking points that I heard between early Sylph and early Play Pokemon, like really early Sylph, of like, why are they not communicating and why is this not part of Play Pokemon, was because Sylph said, we're not going to do age divisions, and Play Pokemon is like, you have to do age divisions. And it's interesting that they've then come to terms with the fact that there just aren't the competitive numbers to have the age divisions.
Yeah.
We've never done a whole lot of the competitive local tournaments here in our area. Jamar, in Kirkland, Juanita, in your section, do you ever see Sylph coming back at in person, or do you see or do you see Play Pokemon taking off either in its stead or at all in your area?
Play Pokemon taking over in its stead. I don't see Sylph in person coming back. It would have to be someone other than me. I got burnt out hosting events.
I don't blame you in the slightest.
The ROI is negative.
It's non-existent for Sylph,
Yeah.
and it's not gonna.
Oh, what? You don't want to meet up at Starbucks anymore and play Pokemon?
I mean, he doesn't get any. There's no financial benefit. There's no way I can transfer Stardust to him as a thank you for putting together a tournament.
No, it's all charity.
Yeah, and I don't know. We'll have to wait and see if we get any of the Play Pokemon events here locally either, because I don't know if there's going to be return on investment to the people that organize it here either.
Yeah.
Now there might be the buy-in. There might be
because they don't say anything on that.
They do reference that there can be a.
Even so, like in the Play Pokemon structure, like professors get professor points, right? They get rewards for hosting and judging, right? I'm assuming, and players can at least play it towards hopefully getting that travel stipend, or at least be incentivized to get a travel stipend to NAIC. Like that's something, right? Like even if it's small, at least I would be more inclined to go do a Play Pokemon tournament than a Sylph tournament locally.
Friskitchu does make the comment their brother was a TCG Pokemon professor and that they never got paid.
The professor program is purely volunteer, to my knowledge, but I'm wondering if there's any other incentive, be it.
They have like discounts and like I think if you do like a certain amount of events, you get points and you can cash out your points for a plushie or whatever. Not like you're getting paid, right? But like at least they can try and thank you somehow, some way.
In a capitalist society, if you get something for free, it's
Yeah.
It's something versus Sylph's nothing. So
yeah, right.
Do you think that the Play Pokemon tournament would bring interest to people that wouldn't normally play? Do you think?
I think seeing the views on Twitch and seeing chatter on other local Discords, interest in attending the event at Portland, for example, I think there would be interest in smaller areas to go to these types of events, right? So that they could see themselves on a Twitch stream at NAIC or at another regional, right? To prove that they're this good or whatever it may be, to feel like they can go play at a higher stage.
I mean, if people are just wanting to get on stream, we should ask if we could just stream the events.
Right. Right. I think there's interest out there in the play format because, one, it's Great League. You don't have to learn it outside. It's, GBL has Great League. Sylph's meta restrictions are always a little bit quirky, right? I guess to the average player, we're finally seeing Niantic make different metas in their cups for their own, keeping their game somewhat fresh.
You see that for GBL, but we have yet to see that for Play Pokemon, so we can take that kind of with a grain of salt.
Right.
But I think it's smart
I think there's interest in the game. And there's untapped interest in the game, in my opinion. Yeah, I could see the Play Pokemon. At least there was a decent PvP scene in the Seattle area, right? Like, Sylph had decent. West Seattle had decently sized tournaments. Kirkland had decent sized tournaments. Cap Hill had decent sized tournaments. There was a good scene in the area. It's just, Sylph's individual format just doesn't have the incentive, in my opinion, to keep grinding it. You change your color on your Sylph card. That's about it. So I mean, I hit Elite and I was like, yeah, I don't care to grind more, because I don't need it. But if I'm gonna get paid or be able to go travel or anything like that, I think that's worth my while at least. And I like playing the game. Why not get some sort of reward for playing the game?
Even if it's the friends you meet along the way.
Well, you can do that anywhere, anyway. So to kind of put a cap in this, as far as like in the final statement, or to bring this to a morbid point, do you think this is the Play Pokemon locals, the beginning of this? Is this the pale horse upon which death rides, so that it may finally claim the Sylph Arena as a dead format and we will move on to Play Pokemon?
I think the Sylph Arena should hang on to the factions format as their differentiator to the Play Pokemon format. If they're going to spend the volunteer efforts and all that, dev time and all that into their formats, factions is the most, I think, what they should focus on the most. And let Play Pokemon be the individual format of choice. Because Sylph individual, I think they've been struggling for a couple seasons now, and I think factions has the growth potential because it is so different from any other competitive format that Pokemon Go PvP has.
And I think the interesting thing is that the Sylph Factions Sylph Factions takes the individual competition that is available in Go, the main series games, and TCG, and brings it a twist of something like what Unite does. Is because it has that team based. The factions format brings with it that difference.
The ability to be fluid in how you play.
It's the team based format, right? Because it allows for a team based format that we don't see nearly anything in a VGC format or in a TCG format. As far as like ongoing leagues, I don't think any of that exists for either. I don't think anyone's put forth that effort there. So I think if
Smogon has a thing, but that's not here or there.
If Sylph Arena focuses on factions, then I think there's something really interesting to be had there, as far as that being their sole focus and the sole thing they market and bring people into. I think it'd be very cool.
Yeah, and it's one of the few places where you can compete in non-Greek league, right? There's an Ultra League specialist, there's a Master League specialist, right? And they have the unique field metas as well. So like there's unique things with the team aspect that is even more, in my opinion, the best part of the format, that you get to theory craft and scrim with friends, and you don't have to worry about losing to the best player in the area because you're playing with them. They're on your team, right?
Mhm.
Like, Riblet showed up to your tournament last month, right? And it's like, I don't want to face Riblet. I'm glad he's on my team.
Yeah. Yeah, no one wants to face him. The fact that I think I faced him round
2.
2 or whatever was ridiculous. I didn't win a single. I won one match. I didn't win a single round in that tournament, and it kept me on table 1 2 rounds in a row. I'm so confused. But I think the only other thing I would love to see is if there's factions and you can have a team jersey, is if you could wear that team jersey up on stream at Play Pokemon regional events so you could rep
I
your
mean,
teams.
they already are.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Stadium has theirs, right? But
But you can't wear those.
oh yeah,
They
they make
were
you
on stream.
cover it, right?
They were on stream once, and they can't be on stream anymore.
Yeah.
So, and the one time they were on stream, it was a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an oversight by the people there. And don't you go telling me that the red, blue, and yellow T-shirts that they're able to wear is team representation.
I mean, there was a few at Vancouver I could have pointed out.
Oh no, yeah. The 7-Eleven jerseys of some of the
There
squads.
was one of them.
Yeah, were they able to wear those on?
No.
I thought they were.
Well, none of
think
them
they
ended
might
up
have.
on.
I think they were, but I think that's because 7-Eleven is sponsored
It's sponsored with Niantic.
with Niantic and
Pokemon Go
and
specifically.
Pokemon. Yeah, so I think those are allowed, but like the Go Stadium ones aren't.
What about the ones Bird Power's on? They're like family
No.
made ones.
No, they have to wear a T-shirt over top of it. I mean, the
Yeah,
dude.
the Northeast Battlers have their jerseys too.
Mhm.
NEB.
The dude with the off-brand but Pokemon pattern tights had to put a jacket over his legs,
Yeah.
which was it was hilarious.
Those tights were.
That's a
legit.
choice.
Choice.
That was a look, and I was jealous of that look.
I mean, we could all pull that look off to varying degrees of success, but
Oh my!
it's a matter of not caring what everyone else thinks.
Anyway, in-person tournaments have a place in competitive PvP because they're that much more fun. So I do
Yeah.
think play Pokemon has a decent future, so long as Niantic.
So long as Niantic keeps the boat afloat.
That's the
Yeah.
really complicated thing of it being Play Pokemon being its own thing and Niantic being its own thing, and they don't need to work together. They just
Niantic,
don't need
go
to be
right.
shooting
Play
each
Pokemon,
other.
go left.
They just need to stop shooting themselves in each foot and
Yeah.
look forward.
That and shake up the tree of the meta a little bit.
I mean, the people
Or is it our responsibility to try and find the spice?
I think in
See-
part it is our job to find the spice. I think
That was my commitment, right? I did not want to run Noctower Lantern at Vancouver this year because I just didn't want to play it. So
I
didn't.
am still
So-
working on finding the Cresselia for Portland, so be prepared.
oh, he's gonna run stall.
There's again, the meta changes week to week or regional to regional because of what the champion ran at the last regional, right? But there's still that core use of Trevenant, Noctowl, Lantern, RPS that nobody wants to really fully look at. But there's ways around it, and if not, you just got to play it. It's not fun.
And I think that's the thing that I think a lot of we're putting it off to the side because it's less fun, but I think the matter of we really don't need a mid-season shakeup in the meta because this game isn't particularly balanced in the grand scheme of things. I think we need to be more focused on, okay, it sucks now, but it will change for next season, and it might just be a matter of we will only ever see meta shakeups every 6 to 12 months, and we kind of just need to
Write it out.
We need to ride it out, and we need to come to terms with the fact that that's probably how it's going to be now that there's a play Pokemon circuit that is, what is it, 6 to 8 months out of the year.
I mean, look at VGC. They don't get a shakeup as often as we do.
The only small shakeups they've gotten currently have been Scarlet and Violet's release, so the swap from Sword and Shield to Scarlet and Violet, the inclusion of the 4.
So first it was paradoxes were banned.
That's right. So paradoxes were banned, then paradoxes were allowed, and then the ruin
4
items,
treasures of ruin.
4 treasures of ruin, and now theoretically at some point we'll get the box legendaries.
Yeah.
And then whatever we get with we potentially could get anything that's within the 6-star raids or 7-star raids.
7s, yeah. The mightiest mark ones.
Theoretically there is a chance that we'll see those included.
And there's also the chance
and then whatever
that
we
they
get for
eventually
DLC.
open because the Legends Arceus Pokemon are in the game data.
That's true.
Mm.
So they'll see tweaks, but they're not huge shakeups. They're also not move shakeups.
Until they allow home.
True, which I don't know if they will.
No, they won't open that floodgate because that won't stop.
No, they'll probably only do things that are eligible within
The
DLC.
game itself.
Yeah, the game itself and DLC, which is, I mean, what we get with Go with new releases like Rabombi. It's too bad.
Unfortunately,
Rabombi
doesn't do anything.
Rabombi doesn't do anything. Any community
Poke it
day,
with a stick. Do something.
the community day moves are shakeups. Unfortunately, they're just not as impressive as, say,
the last couple have not been
including-
something great.
right. But it's too bad it's not as big as saying adding the Treasures of Ruin in Scarlet and Violet, but they are still adjustments to the meta overall as we
Right.
move forward. So, will we see somebody run a Galarian Slowbro in Portland? Probably not, but you could maybe get away with it. So,
I mean, with Shadow A9 being on the rise, maybe.
I don't know.
Because the Galarian Slowbro or Slowking would both resist and be super effective against A9.
Mm-hmm.
But then you got to worry about all the things that beat that.
Mm-hmm. It would beat A9 and it beats Ninetales. Because Surf, baby.
True.
So it's
Just hope you don't get beamed.
Are people running Solar Beam on Ninetales for play Pokemon
If
circuit?
Slowbro starts showing up, they might.
I mean,
Nah,
But
they're running,
you could also
know,
just run Psyshock,
for
yeah.
Overheat.
mm-hmm. I think that's the show. Jesse's giving me the thumbs up. Jamar, do you have anything you want to plug? Anything you want to shout out before we wrap this up?
Make sure to follow me on Twitter or Wing Attack on Twitter, Wing Attack PvP. We are at the top tier of North American factions and play some of the best teams in North America, and we have some of the best players in North America. So if you don't know us, find us and learn about us and follow us on Twitter and learn about how we do. We used to do the YouTube thing. We're trying to get more PvP content out there as well, but it's hard.
We got to listen to that awesome intro.
That's right. But yeah, and all my teammates are awesome, and we have a really cool group of folks. And we also started up a second team, Sky Attack, that is out in open tier. So they are on Sky Attack PvP on Twitter if you want to follow them as well.
So similar to, say, sports leagues, you guys have a pro league,
Minor
and then
league
you
team.
have a minor league. You have the AAA where you can put prospects.
The academy team. Yeah, we kind of we help them week to week. We can't coach them in their actual battles per Silph rules, but
Mm-hmm.
you know we can help them with theory crafting before teams are revealed and all that.
Mhm.
So it's kind of a cool way to help teach some folks that aren't ready to compete at the highest tier but are interested in competing. So
Mhm. So you
it
guys
also
can
helps us because teaching is a great way of learning as well, right?
yeah, and you guys can like scrim and everything, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Mhm.
I wish I knew more and had more involvement in factions, and I wish they would focus on factions more, because it's just such a darn cool format. I just feel like it doesn't get the attention that it maybe deserves.
I agree. I think it deserves more, and I think Sylph should do a little bit that focus. And like you said, the impending doom of individual Sylph is probably a good way for them to pivot to factions.
Do we all get kicked out if we start a play Sylph factions chant at Vancouver?
Yeah, you need to
You mean
say
Portland?
Portland?
grassroots.
Yeah.
That's right.
Do we would they kick us all out if we all did it? Why are you shaking your head? I don't know if that's a yes or a no.
Usually, if you shake your head, that's a no.
Jesse, help. I'm getting kicked out of Portland. Jesse, help. Help.
You're a spectator. It doesn't matter.
What are they going to do? Kick me out? I'll just go into the Twitch and start spamming it.
They are pretty brutal on there from what I hear.
They will
the
ban
chat
me.
mods are insane. But anyways, we'll see you guys at Portland then, and hopefully maybe I'll bring something that's not double, but something that's more interesting or a little bit different. We'll see. I still have to think about it.
Ooh, I can't wait.
Don't forget we got your pizza party.
That's right. We'll
We
have
got
to
to figure
get
that
pizza.
out.
Yep. Jamar, if it's okay with you, I would like to open it up to anyone that would like to come. I will have to.
I'm not buying for everyone.
No, you're buying for Jamar.
Just
And
getting
everyone
that
else-
out there.
And everyone else can buy for themselves.
Sure, let's do it.
I will then find what location of Sizzle Pie makes the most sense, and I will reach out to them ahead of time to see if I need to book an event
Do a
space.
reservation.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So,
Sounds like fun.
woo!
Cool. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you for joining us. This
Episode
is
100, baby.
episode 100 of the Battle Science Podcast. If you want to follow Battle Science, you can follow us at battle_science on Twitter. Follow us on the YouTubes, youtube.com/c/battle science. That is CABC, letter C // battle science. Back us over at patreon.com/battle science for the podcast early or the Battle Science After Dark podcast. We might have something spicy coming up for April. We'll figure that out. We'll start cooking that. Podcast services around the globe for the Battle Science Podcast. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and in the meantime, we will see you out there on the battlefield.